I have these friends, Dan and Sheila. They're podcast hosts.
Welcome to Profiling Criminal Minds. I'm Dan.
And I'm Dr. Redmond.
And it's probably going to be a short one this week. It's not that we don't have a lot to say about the episode, but
we're not in good shape.
We're not in good shape. That one really wrecked us. And yes, obviously, elephant in the room, we're very sad about our favorite character played by our favorite actor getting killed off.
Yes.
I mean, yeah,
we knew it was coming.
I mean, we had 2 years of warning. And I mean, it was confirmed a couple of months ago in a thing we'll talk about later. But between knowing then and now, we had a death in the family.
Yeah,
we had a death in the family, and he is someone who is demographically similar to Josh Stewart, weirdly enough.
Yeah. So it's blank reg.
Yeah. We lost a son and brother, and you can figure out the math on that yourself.
Yeah.
So like back in April. And
actually
of course,
March.
Oh my God.
It's been 3 months.
It's been 3 months. It doesn't feel like it's been 3 months.
March, April, May. No, 2 months.
It's been 2 months.
It hasn't been. It's been 2 months.
Actually, no. It's May 16th.
March.
It's been 3 months. No, it's been 2 full months. You're right.
Yeah.
See, our brains don't really work about this stuff.
No, this has been. So it has just. I watched the episode this morning, and I then couldn't do anything thereafter. And I said to Dan, I think we need to tell our audience because
why we're not going to be able to focus too much on this one. And it's not all about Will dying.
It's not about Will dying. And next week is just going to be terrible.
Yeah,
because we're going to get rough. The funeral, and they're going to sit there and
talk about him.
Yeah, and we did that on a month after Redmond died.
Yeah,
and,
this is it's a lot. It's a lot, and there's no way for it to not be a lot. And you'd never know about it on the show if they hadn't killed off Will, because we pre-record these things so far in advance.
Yeah,
that we have episodes ready to go through August, meaning we did not. We just took a month off. We didn't record anything for a month, so it wouldn't be affected. But Criminal Minds airs when Criminal Minds airs.
It airs, and there's nothing we can do about it.
Let's thank you for putting up with our explanation. But we will talk about the episode now.
Yeah, it's not like we can't talk about the episode. Yeah. It's just the ending of the episode.
That
was just.
Yeah,
too much. We were actually warned ahead of time.
Well, here's what happened. The big thing that we were warned about, that everybody was warned about, was the Hollywood Reporter insanely posted a story saying that the reason that Reed was going to be back was for Will's funeral. And I'm like,
yeah,
that's not something you should be telling us. And apparently they heard about it because, somebody heard about it and called them because they took that story down. And you can't easily Google search it. So, a lot of people won't have that spoiled, but we did. And of course we suspected it was coming because of the whole ominous way in the post-season 16 interview. The showrunner has said that, his cancer scare is over, but that doesn't mean other health scares can't crop up. I'm like, that sounds like what you say if you're killing someone off between seasons. But they did not kill anybody off between seasons. No, they brought Josh Stewart back to get a death scene. And he's fantastic as always. He's got, one line and then he falls over, but the man's incredible.
Yes, well, the problem for me was double full because the tears and I still can't cope with the fact that Redmond is dead.
Yeah, of course.
But the problem is the way he died is the way my cousin died.
Yeah.
And exactly the same. But he got up at 2 a.m. And the headache, he fell to the ground. They got him at the hospital. They got him in the operating room. and he died on the operating table. Exactly the same.
Exactly
I'm
what
just
happened
going,
to Will.
I just don't.
Yeah, okay. That was great. So it's hitting us. Yeah.
Yeah, in a way that has nothing to do with Criminal Minds. We would have been terribly sad, and we would have had tears anyway.
But
it's just we are
hitting us
now
harder.
grief-stricken.
And it doesn't help that it's a well-made show.
Yeah.
And it's a really believable performance of grief.
Yeah.
Oh, and everyone does a really great job finding out. Like, it doesn't help that it was well done.
Yeah.
Oh my God. All right. So anyway,
let's get back to the regular show because it was a doozy.
It was a doozy. All right, let's get to the main the killer this week. Oh, the opening? Want to do the opening first?
Where
we check in with
and we see them all doing this.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the whole
because
thing.
They want to do a 2-part episode thing where at the start of the episode it shows, how everything is interrupted by this one thing, and at the end of the episode everything is interrupted by something else. Like, it's a very well-structured episode.
Yeah, no. There's absolutely nothing. I got to walking. We had been warned that the end of this episode was going to be
pretty emotional.
Okay, so but I okay, yeah, we knew Will was going to die, so
yeah,
but it just struck. But what happens, that opening, right, where everybody's doing their thing,
yeah,
right,
and they get their call,
and then everybody gets the call and goes, what the fuck, what?
Yeah.
And not just going. And the funny thing is my brain did not go to the obvious, which we saw at the end of episode 1.
Oh, you thought it might have been about Will. Oh. Okay. No, I knew right away that they were calling
I'm going, it was just like, I'm going, okay, so my brain is not in the right place because I do know what's coming at the end.
Right, okay.
Right, but the thing is that they're going, oh shit, but no, I thought it was a new serial killer or something. I don't even think it was about Will, because they wouldn't have done that at the beginning, because as we were warned, this one is going to be emotional, but the next one is going to be just horrific.
Yeah, and so it's likely an ending.
So I was so I'm watching this, but no, I just thought, I don't know why, but I forgot, of course, that Voit had woken up
in the end of the last
at the end of the episode,
okay.
Right? And you were right, of course, that the minute he lifted his arm off the thing,
they rush in. She's going to be fine.
They rush in, and she's fine, and she's helping him, walk around and stuff. But they're all just sitting. I loved this episode.
It's fantastic.
Ignore the ending, and I loved this episode. I thought this episode,
the thing is,
was a killer episode.
Not only is it a great episode, but like our big thing when we were talking about last year, you can hear us talking about this, is, okay, well, what exactly are they going to do with Voit? How are they going to keep him in there? What is the plan here, people? And the answer is, okay, that's really good.
Yeah.
They found the best possible way to do it.
Bring up,
oh my God.
Yeah. And they bring up that issue. I think we did manage to talk about it at the end of last season. Mm-hmm. And when we were talking about what they could possibly do, right?
Oh yeah.
But it is amazing.
Yeah.
It is amazing,
that choice.
To watch this whole episode, and to watch like the interaction between the staff.
Oh my God.
Right?
Like everybody not everybody gets their scene. JJ doesn't get a scene with him, but yeah, everybody's reactions with Voit, and all the times they hang out with Voit, and you're like, seeing them. From him, it's an incredible performance of not knowing these people, of being completely vacant. But the way they're so frustrated and incomprehending, I loved it. I loved every scene of that.
And my line is when he called Rossi Dad, I'm going, you went too far. You went too far. I know you're pulling this off because you can pull anything off.
Okay, so you think he's faking.
Well, although the brain scans...
The brain scan tends to suggest he's not.
The brain scan tends to suggest he's not.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know enough about brain
Scans to see if that's something you're able to fake.
Yeah, because it can't tell you whether someone is an amnesiac.
No, they can't, but they can tell you what part of the brain is damaged.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's, physical and like the part of the brain that accesses memories well, you can see electrical activity in there and how much it is, but you're not able to see. You're right. You're not able to see if it's actual, brain amnesia. No, there's no way you can tell that.
Full
but
scale.
You do have
amnesia.
to check. You do have to check, brain function. Like 100%.
Oh no, I understand. I understand all of that. But what I'm going is looking at Rossi and calling him Dad. That is something Elias Voit.
Oh, he would absolutely do. 100%.
Just because he knew it would get under Rossi's skin.
I'm not saying you can't.
And I'm saying, I'm just going, now nobody else seems to have picked up on that. Because
I get it.
Rossi doesn't believe that neither does Luke.
Yeah.
And Tara gets her comeuppance.
Yeah.
Because I'm convinced, like Tara is sitting there going, and was it Rossi? No, it was Luke said, that's what scares me is that he could fool you.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Luke that said that to her. She says, no, I watched him, but I watched him too. I was watching these, and I'm just going, there was one place I would go,
Okay.
But the big thing was just, no, you shouldn't have pulled the dad.
Okay. I'm very interested to see if that's how they go with it, because I'm not sure the way you are. I am completely, I know, obviously, when he calls him dad, I had the same thought, but I'm not ready to, assume it is 100% that.
Yeah, I'd have to think more and more about...
And we're going to see how they play it next week.
How the brain scans work. Like, the empathy, here's the thing, right? Yeah. Is Lucas wrong to call it? Because what they do is Tara goes in to do the neurological, asking the questions while they're watching his brain.
Yes.
Okay. Now, that isn't going to tell you whether somebody's lying or not. He answers all of the questions she asks perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of someone who has total and complete amnesia, he's able to basically do it. He does the whole empathy thing. No, he would never do anything that horrible. No, he would never do that. No, because he's supposed to answer on a Likert scale from 1 to 5.
Yeah. 1
being never, and he's just going never, never, never. Well, of course, this is going to trigger the empathy part of the brain.
Right.
That I guess they have pinpointed to some extent in people with true empathy or whatever. But and here's the point, how can you tell whether it's true empathy or not?
Well, no, I mean, the idea is that, and this is the thing, the idea is there is a part of the brain that is used for emotional processing, right?
Yes.
When you think about other people, and in psychopaths, and this is how they did that, that wonderful book where we found out about the prosocial psychopaths, is you can look in a brain scan of asking someone to imagine a thing happening to other person, and you can see on the scan if they're feeling or if they're thinking. And so, you can tell if it's fake emotions.
Well, but the point is...
My point is, you can't tell if he's lying or telling the truth, but you can tell if he's emotionally processing or not. And they're seeing strong emotional processing that could have been... the way they could go is, whether he's faking or not, what they have the opportunity to say is that the brain damage he suffered as a child locked away his ability to emotionally process, and the,
and now being in a coma.
I'm just going to say it. Getting kicked in the head by a mule a second time has given him the ability to start processing. Now, that he can process emotions now can be true whether he's faking having amnesia or not. And that is, whether he's faking it or not, I think they're going to say the emotional processing is true. That he has been cured of being a psychopath by whatever injury he had.
Well, yeah, but that would lead us down the road. And that is so far the tack because of what happens with the lawyer.
Yes.
Right. And that the lawyer has found someone to beat Voit
Try to murder him in jail. Yeah.
Right. But to murder him. But I suspect, my suspicion is Voit set that up himself.
He could.
Because he was prepared.
Oh, yeah.
And he killed those guys.
That's what I said at the end of the last season. That was part of his plan. But my thought was to just, so his lawyer could make the argument that it's too dangerous for him to stay in jail and let him out.
Yes. And what happens here is that he got beaten so bad he did go into a coma because it's pretty hard to fake a coma.
Oh, no, you can't fake a coma.
You can't.
No, don't you remember? Don't forget. Yeah. They had to medically induce a coma to allow him to repair, but then he wouldn't come out of it. Like, he didn't... Yeah. The injuries didn't cause a coma. They had to put him in a coma, and then they couldn't get him back out. Yeah,
and so what happens, is that... But he was, I would say, to me, we've had 2 years of Voit now.
Yes.
And he is the master manipulator of all things.
Absolutely.
And so what I'm saying, I'm thinking about that brain scan and I'm going, all I can say is if they can't do a brain scan and see Alzheimer's, and they can't do a brain scan to figure out whether someone has bipolar disorder, no, there's something.
But again, 100%, you can't do... No, it's true. You can't do a brain scan to confirm amnesia because people with amnesia are still, if you look at their brain scan, they're still trying to access memories. Those parts of the brain are still lighting up. They're just failing to do it. So you can't tell whether he's lying or telling the truth. But you can tell if he is emotionally processing. So he is emotionally processing.
Yes, but we don't
know whether he's faking and whether he planned it all. And you're absolutely right. Yeah, those are still two very big possibilities.
But I mean, it looks as if they're going the method of what they're trying to get us to think.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that he is in a real coma and he has managed to fool just about everybody.
He was in a real coma.
No, you know what I mean.
Okay, actually,
I'm not saying it correctly. Okay, that he had this plan. When he comes out of the coma, he just puts the plan in place.
Yeah. I see your point.
Okay.
100%, I see where you're getting at. And the one thing I'll say is, they keep saying that could he get away with it? If he has no memory, and that yes, he can get compassionate release, blah 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 blah. I just want to remind the characters, he already got away with it. Yes, he's already not going to jail for his crimes. He doesn't need an elaborate second scheme to get away with his crimes. He already got away with his crimes. He has to serve 7 months.
Remember, he's not Sicarius.
Exactly.
As far as the justice system is concerned, he's not.
Jaws is Sicarius. That was already well established by the courts. No matter what happens with this whole amnesia thing, he's not going to jail, guys, because I'm pretty sure any decent lawyer will be able to count the 4 months in a coma against his jail sentence, considering he got in the coma because of he was attacked in jail. He's just getting out. It doesn't matter. As soon as he's well enough to be out of that hospital, he's out of that hospital.
Yeah, I'm surprised. The one thing I'm surprised about is that because with coma patients now, what they do tend to do is a lot of physiotherapy on their legs and their arms and things like that. I'm sure they did,
and that's why he's able to walk right away. I'm sure they were doing physio the whole time, and that's why he can walk right away.
Yeah, because but no, I mean that initial thing is that he wasn't doing it very well.
Well,
right. Remember, he was stumbling in the rest of it.
Okay. Here's the thing. If you've been lying in a bed without any physio, for 4 months, right, you can't stand, period.
Yeah.
No, but if they've been doing physio the entire time, you will be able to stand and walk around when you come out of the coma, but you will be a mess at it because you haven't used those muscles. Those muscles have been strengthened, right? But you haven't actually tried to control them for 4 months. So yeah, no, he is, again, doing
But he
a
very,
great
very,
job.
very, very quickly.
Yeah, because they've been exercising him.
Yeah, so, he manages to. So I mean, it is very interesting. But I will hold to my
theory until it's disproven some other way.
Until it's disproven completely.
Completely.
I'm going because I'm just going. That was too much.
Okay, all right.
That was just too much
because
that is
plot.
just getting to Dave.
It is, and that's why it's such a great
and
scene.
The reason he's doing it. Wait a sec.
I'm just saying we haven't found out whether it's Voit or the writers getting to Dave.
Well, here, what I'm saying, okay, what I am saying about this is that Voit knows Dave well enough.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, that he knows that Dave is not going to want to play. And he doesn't want Dave around him because if anybody's going to figure out that Voit is, or Luke, or what, is faking it, it's going to be Dave. So he doesn't want Dave around.
Right. And so that would be the thing he would do to drive Dave away.
Yeah. That would be that's my full argument. We'll
logic.
See.
We've got
8 more episodes.
We got 8 more episodes to answer this question. You're sure? I am definitely not sure. All right. Okay. So, they, in trying to find out who stabbed Voit and triggered all this, they find out that his lawyer, right? His lawyer hired the guys to stab Voit. We don't know if they were planning, if it was lawyer trying to cut Voit out permanently, because, to be fair, we saw the lawyer ready to have Voit killed.
Oh, right? Yeah.
So this is definitely there is some possibility there, right? But he paid them, so they raid the lawyer's office. The lawyer has fled, but they find his hard drive. And on his hard drive, they have evidence that he has been watching the videos that have continued to be uploaded by serial killers, which is what makes them think that this was all part of Voight's plan. And one of those serial killers is Eldon Henson, I think is his name, from the Mighty Ducks, but most importantly for everybody these days, Daredevil. He plays Foggy Nelson on Daredevil.
Yeah, it's interesting looking at it, and I thought, so they're getting the same type as the guy that has been found to be Sicarius.
Yes, it's a very similar type.
Very similar type, right? I thought that was good.
It was a nice touch, yeah.
Yeah.
So, he keeps women in a basement and he tortures them for X amount of time, months on end, until they're completely servile to him, and then when he has completely quote unquote broken them, that's when he murders them. Because again, he's a terrible guy. And so they have to find this guy. And what I love about this episode is, so what have I been saying for years about how to catch a serial killer? You literally just ask local sex workers.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
And it is an entire episode about, the characters indicting the fact that cops don't take the disappearance and death of sex workers seriously.
Yep.
That's what the episode's about. They say it, they take it seriously, and the minute they actually ask someone who the killer might be, they find out right away. Yeah, you can say they do the profile because they describe the type of guy he is, right? But at the same time, all you had to do was go to that pimp, her ex-boyfriend, and say, name some people, right? Name some creeps. Tell us, who was
this is what we're looking for.
Yeah. But I'm saying you don't even need a psychological description what they give him, which they do a good job of describing the type of person the killer is. And so that gets him there faster. But it's tell us any creepy encounter she had. Maybe encounter 5 would have been this office, right? Maybe it would have been number 1. Maybe she didn't have a ton of other creepy experiences. But yeah, this guy was an absolute monster. So they talk to her sister, they talk to the missing girl's sister, because they're able to identify her right away from the video. And you get a great scene with the sister, right? that I really enjoyed. And the sister leads them to the boyfriend who pushed her into sex work in the first place. And then once they've got him, they've got the killer. Unfortunately, he kills that woman and kidnaps a new woman. So the woman they were going to rescue does not, in fact, get rescued. And Dave says he has to go and talk to the victim, victim's sister on his own. And I'm a little sad we were robbed of that scene.
Yeah. Well, there wasn't, I guess there wasn't time of it.
There probably wasn't time.
Yeah.
Because we are robbed of the Moseley Lane scene of that mother finding out that, like, her son had been alive this entire time, right up till 2 days ago.
Her daughter. Her sister.
No, I'm talking about Moseley Lane.
Oh, Moseley Lane. Okay,
yeah,
never mind.
The son. What are you talking about? The son who had been alive right up until,
Yeah.
Right up until a couple of days
That was
ago.
so terrible.
Oh,
that one?
But it was emotionally true, right?
It's
an emotionally true scene, and it's the most powerful scene. And I feel like Joe Mantegna got robbed of a really emotional scene then.
Yes.
He got robbed of a chance to really, stretch as an actor and really show off. And that makes me a little sad for him. Because, that's such a good scene in Moseley Lane when she finds out. And they could have done a version of that here. And they earned it because, ugh.
Yeah, and I just say Joe's going to have some good scenes coming up.
Oh, I'm sure. 100%.
For sure.
Now, let's talk about how assaulted I feel by the show, continuing to associate the writing, the songs of Jim Steinman with serial killers.
I hate that.
They keep doing it.
I hate that. Whose idea was it to play 2 out of 3 ain't bad?
This is my point, right?
What? No. Sorry.
I agree with you
fully.
Personally. Okay. I feel like I'm being personally attacked by the show at this point. Because, first off, you've got the Piano Man rapist playing Jim Steinman songs on the piano.
Yeah.
And now you got this guy, another kidnapping rapist, playing Jim's... Okay, that guy didn't kidnap. She kidnaps him. But still, it's a rapist, there's kidnapping, and you're playing Jim Steinman. Come on!
I was so pissed off listening to that.
And now you're associating that.
Give me something else.
Oh my God.
And given I am madder about it after I had seen the whole episode because I'm in no mood to be jerked around. Will LaMontagne's death is going to, it has all of a sudden capitulated into this massive thing.
Yeah.
And I'm going, how can you do this? 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Yeah.
And just remember, how up in the air JJ was about him all the time.
I know.
And she wouldn't marry him. And it took her forever. And I'm going, and you're playing 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Did you not watch the whole show? I know. Okay.
And associating it with the killer too. So it's like this
it makes it a million times worse. I'm just going, no.
I know. It's a rough one.
It's a and I know my emotions are in a very different place than they would have been if Redmond hadn't died.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
But it hits for that reason.
Yeah, but it just makes it worse.
I get it.
All of these emotional things, because that is one of my that whole Jim Steinman, that whole thing.
Bat Out of Hell.
Bat Out of Hell is just such a iconic. It's such an iconic album.
It is,
and it's such an emotional album.
Yeah. Oh, it is. Well, I mean,
throughout.
As you know, Jim Steinman is, I consider him to be the inventor of music and the best songwriter to have ever lived. And what I always say about him is that he means it harder than anyone has ever meant it in music. And when you listen to that album, because it's all Meatloaf sing, but it's his production, and that's what makes it great. And these guys, they mean it harder than anyone has ever meant it.
And even Meatloaf meant it harder. I watched, there's this thing called we're going to go off on a tangent here, guys.
That's fine.
And then we'll get to the killer again, maybe.
Yeah. But it's not a complicated case this week.
No, it's not.
He does a good job, but that's not what this week is about.
No, and what happened? Not for us anyway.
Not for us.
But what happened? I listened to this thing called classical albums, right? Yeah. It just takes an album and just goes through the whole album. So of course they did Bat Out of Hell.
You have to. It's literally one of the best-selling English language albums of all time.
And when you say, between Steinman meaning it harder than anybody else has meant it, so did Meatloaf.
Absolutely he did.
Because the woman who sings when they went on tour with it, right? But she said he just got so into it and he believed it. And she said, on stage, he's tonguing me. And she's just like, she was not appreciative necessarily, but there was nothing she could kind of do. Yeah. She said he just lived the songs as opposed to just singing the songs.
Absolutely.
And I'm just going, that whole thing.
If that whole album is a level of commitment to the music and the performance that you're just never going to see anywhere else ever. It's
not even
incredible.
in Rocky Horror Show.
No, not even the Rocky Horror Picture Show, which also starred Meatloaf.
Yep. Which is why I brought it up.
No, perfect. No, it's a perfect example.
Yep.
The Rocky Horror Picture, not even there. No, Bat Out of Hell really does deserve to be one of the top 20 English language albums of all time. And Jim Steinman had a lot of other incredible music, but that is a singular feat. If Meatloaf, which I have to understand, and this is my last thing I'll say about Jim Steinman, during the 5 years they toured what would become Bat Out of Hell, because he wrote it and he worked with Meatloaf to figure out the production, and then they toured it for I think close to 5 years, before the album came out. While he was doing that, he wrote a second album that was supposed to be the sequel called Renegade Angel. None of the songs of those songs are on Bat Out of Hell 2. Bat Out of Hell 2 are all new songs. I think all. But anyway, for whatever reason, Meatloaf didn't want to do Renegade Angel. And go listen to it. It's called Bad for Good. When he finally released it, Jim Steinman, he sung a bunch of the songs himself because he was also a talented singer. And the album is called Bad for Good. And just understand that would have been Renegade Angel, Bat Out of Hell 2. It's just for whatever reason we get a chance to. The funny part is, though, like, Meatloaf toured, and essentially there are live recordings that you could turn into Renegade Angel, because he toured and sang all these songs. But tragically, he never got to release it as an album. He recorded all the songs eventually, but without Jim Steinman's production, so they are faulty. But if you love Bat Out of Hell, go get yourself a copy of Bad for Good, which is the official sequel to Bat Out of Hell. Meatloaf just didn't do it.
And what you said to me, right, was that you could see that Jim Steinman and Meatloaf had that same energy. It was just that Meatloaf he had a bigger voice.
He was a more powerful singer.
He was a more powerful singer than Steinman was.
Exactly. And that's what Steinman was writing for. He was writing for this unbelievably next level voice that Meatloaf had. And when it's Steinman singing the songs, it can't be as good.
Oh, by the way,
if they're better songs, it can't be as good.
Yes. And by the way, it's the song Paradise by the Dashboard Light, right? That was the song I was talking about before that they were singing on stage. And you can see performances. There's all sorts of performances on YouTube.
Oh, yeah. They're
incredible. It is one of those albums that I can't imagine anybody. Oh, I guess there are people that might not love it, but
it is as close to a universally beloved album as you can find. It's one of those albums like American Pie that everybody bought, except unlike American Pie, it's still thought of as great today. Take that, Don McLean.
Well, yeah, but Don McLean turned into a
real nut job. Yes, he did.
Yeah, a real nut job. So, and Meatloaf has passed over.
Yes, both of them have sadly passed now. So, But we still have a legacy of the greatest music to have ever been recorded. All right.
Okay. There is our digression.
There is our digression. Our other digression about my favorite thing in the world. And it's being used to be associated with perverse serial killers.
Yes, and we're not taking any shit right now.
But it's interesting because they profile. They find him without too much trouble.
Yeah.
Although it is interesting that they have to go to the office, right? They have to go to the office to find out who it is, right? Because all she knew was there was a creepy guy at an office party. So they go to the office and they, take their profile of the guy and just go through the list of all the employees. And so he gets tipped off right away.
Yeah.
By the
his best friend at the office,
that the FBI was there.
And what did you do?
Yeah, what did you do to get the FBI in on this?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're able to rush to his house. Right? They're able to rush to his house. And you're just Tyler. Oh, I know. I mean, it was a race against the clock.
I have to admit that I'm sitting there. Are they going to get in there in time?
I know, but the problem is we've been brainwashed by Profiler, where a couple of times they don't get there in time.
Yeah.
To think that that's a possibility. All this Profiler has been wrecking our brains for what's possible. No, she overpowers the killer, the victim, I mean, and is strangling him when Tyler runs in to capture him. He ushers her away, and the killer slashes his own throat rather than being taken in.
Yes, in typical Sicarius fashion.
Yes, yeah. The rule is never I'll
never
let you do
caught.
this thing, I'll help you do this thing, but never get caught. That's the one rule you have to live by.
Yep.
And it also leads to that wonderful bit where he's explaining how he has faked her disappearance to her, right?
Yeah.
And how
they're using deep AI fakes.
Exactly, deep fakes and AI to replace her voice.
Yep.
And what I liked was him just the casual drop. It was I had some help, but it's not that hard. Just, to let us know there are still people doing what Sicarius did, right? There's still people running this organization. And that part's very interesting to me.
Well, yes, and I still... and Voit has his hand in there somewhere.
Somewhere. Well, no matter what, he's ultimately responsible for it, right?
Yeah.
But whether he's actively doing this is a question we're not going to have answered for a few weeks at least.
Yeah.
I did like the scene where that performance where Dave goes to just scream in his face about the Zookeeper, which is what they call the killer. Right? Yeah. Just scream in his face and demand an answer. They're fantastic. These two together.
These scenes between Dave and Voit,
are amazing.
Right? Elias,
yeah,
are definitely amazing. And I mean, the fact is that what's his face who plays Zach Gilford?
Zach Gilford, yeah.
Okay, I mean, is absolutely. Well, he is so controlled. He lived these two. This goes to my right idea, but he was so controlled in living two separate lives. And yes, he did break down
eventually,
sort of, because he got sort of caught, right? And but he had been living two separate lives. We still don't know, I don't think, how many people he actually killed.
Well, I mean, we've got the evidence from the multiple from the multiple hideouts he had, but we have no confirmation whatsoever.
No confirmation. And then there are all the people he killed before he did all of that stuff.
Before he even started setting up the canisters. Exactly.
That's right, because he was killing when his uncle was alive. He replaced his uncle ultimately.
Well, yeah, he was killing people after he left his uncle, right? He kept killing people before he put the whole thing together.
And he put the whole thing together so he could live those two separate lives.
Exactly.
So he'd actually created three separate lives.
In a sense, yeah.
Yeah, and it is interesting that, I mean, they talk about DID, and it is, I'm going, no. His doctor is a she's a neurobiologist.
Neurologist.
She's a neurologist, right?
And she's dealing with the
She
physical structure of the brain.
The physical structure of the brain. She is not dealing with the psychological conflicts because there's even a problem with, never mind. I'm not going to go off on another tangent. I could go off on another tangent. But I mean, there are things that we can
save those tangents until we know more about how they're treating this thing.
Yeah.
And that's how I want you to look at it, right? When we find out, because right now we can't 100% say where they're going this because we just don't know yet.
No, we don't know, but we've got a lot of hints going on.
We got a lot of hints and we got a lot of theories, and I'm very much, but we're not gonna waste time just saying it could be this or it could be that. We're gonna wait until we have more. Well,
because and what's the point is that if we get into this, the whole psychological thing that he's, of the coma, there is a real case, right? There is more than one real case of somebody. And then this is a philosophical or an ethical issue. Yeah. Are they responsible for what they can't remember?
And
is the idea.
To be fair,
and that would take this down a whole road that criminal minds can't go down.
I know, but Babylon 5, literally the best episode of Babylon 5 is about, does moral responsibility exist without memories?
Yeah, well, this is my...
And that's the real question.
And it is the Gethsemane question.
Exactly, right? If you have, that's what the whole episode is about. If you don't remember doing something, are you morally responsible? Does the person who committed that crime still exist?
Yes.
And that's a really good question. And it's a moral question. It's an ethical question. It's also a legal question. And that's, it is so interesting because explicitly our favorite episode
of Babylon
5, they've decided to make the entire season of Criminal Minds about our favorite episode of Babylon 5. Just and completely I'm not coincidentally.
Yeah.
It's not like this is a gift to us, but that's what they're doing.
No, it is very interesting because we have talked. And and as I said, there have been court cases since. So, but that is,
it's fascinating because that's our favorite episode. And I can't stress this enough. Our favorite episode of Babylon 5 ever. It's
season 3, episode 4.
Yeah. Passing Through Gethsemane. You don't even have to know Babylon 5 to watch it, right? No. You have to understand. Here's what you need to know. It's the future. Psychics exist. Done. The rest of it, you can just watch the show.
Yeah. That's exactly it because it has no part in the bigger plot
story. Yeah.
Oh. None at all. In that end scene where the guy who murdered.
Wait, don't spoil it. Don't spoil it. You know what? Let people watch it.
You really have to try and find it.
It's not hard to find. It's Babylon 5.
Well, it's on Hulu. We can't
get it. So there you go. You've already told people how to find it. Done.
Yeah.
Season 3, episode 4, Passing Through Gethsemane. Literally our favorite episode of Babylon 5. And it's about what this season of television seems like it's arguing it's going to be about. So I am blown away.
Yeah, all no. So, I was I was flat last week. I mean, from my perspective, we still managed to do a good episode, but I was still felt like I was flat. I was particularly when I was watching it.
Yeah, of course. Well, I remember
this one. This one
pulls you in much better.
Pulls just like it was like episode 1 was kind of a setup, and then this got pulled in, and we got what's his face, our new guy, Tyler, is now permanently assigned to the team because Vicarious is back.
Vicarious is back. Yeah, he woke up. Well, and again, I want to point out, they could have just assigned him to the team at any point.
Well, yes, I know, but they had to make it a little bit.
I know. They had to give it
because he's not supposed to. They could.
He's not supposed to jump right there.
You already.
I'll just remind everybody: 22-year-old Spencer Reed didn't spend 5 years in Mobile, Alabama. That's all I'm saying. He was 22.
Yeah.
When he joined the team. Let's be serious, people. But yeah,
and we get to see Matthew Gray Gubler next week.
I know, Matt Gubler's back next week. I'm so excited, and it's for the saddest possible reason.
Yeah, and I wonder if they're in production because my grandson saw there was a hole when he was walking home from or walking around High Park and school and stuff like that. And there was a whole few
production
streets,
going.
a production going on. And I was wondering because
Might be Einstein. Yeah.
it might be Einstein because we've already seen somebody who tweeted. I don't know if anybody
About seeing him in Toronto.
In Toronto had a picture of him.
Nice.
Walking out of the U of T, which is to stand in.
So in
for
case
Princeton.
you're wondering, are they going to be covering Einstein here on the podcast? Yes, obviously.
Of course we're
How could we
covering
not?
Einstein.
Literally our pitch years ago for a Spencer Reid spinoff was Spencer Reid, having left the FBI and now just teaching full-time, gets embroiled in mysteries on his college campus. And now that's a show.
Well, here's the funny thing is somebody had already done that in Germany, and this is just
I know.
an American version
funny.
of the German one.
Oh, I know it's an American version of the German one. I just think it's funny that our pitch for a Spencer Reid show is completely coincidentally what got made, except he's not playing Spencer Reid.
Yeah, that's it. He's not being Spencer Reid. He's being Albert Einstein's grandson, great grandson,
whatever it is.
Yeah, something like that.
However they explain it, I'm going to be fine. By the way, it makes more sense that he's related to Einstein in the original because it's set in Germany.
Yes.
So it makes a lot more sense that he's related to Einstein.
Yeah, and it also will be similar. I really wonder that Professor T,
a Professor T type show. Yeah,
that's a Professor T type show as well.
Yeah.
So,
well, the thing is, from the sense I get from looking into, I haven't watched episodes of it yet, the original, but I've read reviews of the original. It seems like it's not an endlessly bleak, depressing ordeal the way Professor T is endlessly bleak, depressing ordeal. Because I don't think that would be a good fit for Matt Gubler.
No.
We want him to be out there having fun, is my point.
Yes, now that he's, yes.
Yeah.
We've all seen.
Now that he has escaped working on nothing but serial killers, let's let the man have some fun. We watch his
Goobler.
Halloween Gooblerween videos every year, and we want that Matt Gubler on television.
Yep.
Just a weird, unbelievably funny guy. All right. So yes, the episode, the Voit stuff, it's just kicking off.
Yep. Yeah, it is. And we had those questions, and I'm sure, and other people had those questions, but why do they keep bringing Voit back? He's going to be worn out. Nope. They
can still find ways to make this interesting. I'm very excited about this.
To bring this back, this way, he's an amnesiac and bringing up.
When they woke up and said he's amnesiac, I almost cheered, but I remembered that it was 2 a.m. and there were people sleeping in the next room. But it's like, I just wanted to applaud for them having such a brilliant way of keeping around, whether it's fake or not. Like, this is a perfect dramatic hook to use to bring the man in. Like, it's great.
Yes, you would have woken up your neighbors upstairs and downstairs.
Yeah, I know. It's so cheesy to people to have amnesia. No, it is a classic. It is an unbelievably classic trope of melodramatic fiction. And that's what we want. We want the classic tropes executed in a great way. And I have faith that that's what they're going to give us.
Well, this episode is just like, whoa.
I know. It's off to such a great start.
Yeah.
No
matter how much we screamed about using Steinman.
Yes, no matter how much we complained about their use of Jim Steinman, this is off to an amazing start. Yeah. No, it's like I said, the killer, he does a fine job. The women both do a fine job, but it's like, it's a standard killer. They catch him without too much difficulty. We never get a chance to dig into his psychology. And if you're not going to dig into the psychology, how much can we possibly care? I'm sure he had some abuse in his childhood that led him with the obsessive need to control, right?
Yes.
Formative behaviors, feeling rejected, feeling need to control women. Like, I'm sure that all of that is in the background, but that's not what the episode is about. The episode really needs to have a killer who is just a functional case of the week guy who's not going to take up too much time so we can do all of this Voit stuff.
All the other stuff, which is just so great, which is why Dave didn't get his scene with the woman's sister.
Which I think it's an oversight, and I'm sad about that. And if there's a script version of that scene, I would love to read it, but it is too bad we didn't get that.
Yeah.
One thing I will say that I really liked, I really liked Tyler being worried that he screwed up by letting the guy kill himself.
Yes.
Because it shows how far he's come as a character who was fine on signing off killing people previously, but he really is trying to like work himself into the way they work.
Yes.
Because remember, he was in the special forces.
Yep.
He's fine with people getting killed on missions. That's just what happens, right? And you were trained in the special forces to put down quote unquote bad guys, right? Like that's so him being willing to completely devote himself to seeing things their way, it really is a sign that he is growing and changing as a character, and I'm interested to see that process continue.
Ah, yes. Well, after all, we do want him and Penelope. Penelope has a right to finally have a relationship work out.
I know. And, again, we, last season, we were entirely Tyler Green did nothing wrong, which we stand by, right? Which we do officially stand by, but I am glad that, like, they're getting to a point where they took a season of her being mad at him, and now she is finally starting to come around on him. And again, they are using the space they have.
Yes.
Right? To develop these characters organically. And what I really love is they're using the extra time they have to make sure we get a lot of character scenes per episode.
Yep.
And that's what I'm really enjoying. And
yep.
Hey, we get Rebecca and Tara together at the start of the episode. It's so wonderful when you get a sex scene and then the credit at the bottom is like directed by one of the people in the sex scene.
Yeah. It helps.
It helps a lot. I thought that was a nice touch.
And Rebecca calling Tara on her emotional rather than doing the fighting and all the rest of it, just going, I got your number, honey.
Yep.
So
no, it's so great to have people call. Yeah. Well, I mean, how many we watched for 15 seasons of a show where nobody calls anybody on their crap ever.
Yeah.
And now we get a show that's entirely about the characters having to like face up to all of their crap. Like it's 15 seasons of television about these horribly flawed people who never get called on it by anybody for any time. And now, like, no one can just look the other way. Everyone is actually dealing with their stuff. And it's so much better and it's so interesting to watch. Like, all of these characters get taken completely seriously, more than they ever have been in the past. Yeah. And that scene is a perfect example of it, giving us the room to have Rebecca be like, yeah, this is what you're like, Tara.
Yeah.
It's my second
still love
favorite.
You. Got your
still
number.
Love you, but I got your number. Exactly. Still, now my second favorite Rebecca scene after the scene last season where they're planning their evil. I say evil. Their secret, way to get in and talk to Voit, even though he's being nabbed up by the Justice Department. And Rebecca's just like, well, I obviously can't be trusted with this information.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave before I hear stuff that I'll be duty bound to tell my boss about. Still my favorite Rebecca scene, but this was a close second. Her calling Tara on her crap, definitely a close second.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and then the end of the episode happens, and we all know what the end of the episode is.
Yes, we've already cried our way through that at the beginning.
Yeah, we already dealt with that at the start. But
yeah,
I can say without hesitation that, they handled it as well as it can be handled. I didn't want it to happen, and I didn't want to see it, but I think they handled the character death as well as it could be handled.
Well, no,
as something that happens with no warning, right?
Yes.
And then it just blows up your life.
Because I really was wondering how they were going to do that, because it was obvious from last episode.
Yeah.
Like if it didn't open up with the funeral in the very first episode, then it was going to come later. And then I'm going, so what? Is they going to have him die in a plane crash or get No, they did. They actually
I assumed
related
it was going to be a medical thing. It was going to be related to his health scare. I just assumed it was.
Except that there would have been some talk, I would think, if it had been like the cancer had come back, for example.
Oh yeah,
but this
100%.
wasn't.
No,
but this wasn't. This was, and as
it
I
was
say,
just an aneurysm. Yeah,
it was an aneurysm. It killed my father.
Yeah,
it killed my cousin.
Well, I mean,
these
technically,
aneurysms.
I think the molten metal killed your father.
Well, yes, it caused the aneurysm.
I'm not gonna like that was definitely not. Will did not, was not horribly burned in an industrial accident. Like,
no,
the way your body breaks down after the molten metal is less important than the molten metal.
Yes, okay, but it was still completely out of the blue, totally unexpected, because nobody. I mean, it was absolutely a remote possibility.
But nobody saw it coming.
Nobody saw it coming until it came.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, this is the 1970s. They don't have MRIs. Yeah. They can't look at all of your bodies and find out where the blood clots are at the time. Yeah. I mean, it was... We are, in many ways our technology has gone to dark places, but medical technology, we have amazing things we can do now.
Yep.
But
not enough yet.
Not enough yet. But no, but the only thing that would have saved Will is if, like, he had gone for a full body MRI to look for any weaknesses in his circulatory system, or done that full thing where they load you up with barium and scan your entire circulatory system. If he had done that within the week before, and as we saw,
they might have
with your cousin,
found it.
They might have found it, but even then, like, you can have no symptoms until 10 minutes before you're dead. That's the horrifying thing about aneurysms, right? It's really hard to see weaknesses in blood vessels. Like it's just, and there's a lot of the time no obvious symptoms of it. So they picked, if they wanted to pick a way to kill him off that was the most, completely believable and not traumatic for us, or the least traumatic for us, I think they picked the way.
However, what I did say, and oh God, should I put a warning at the beginning of this?
You're putting a warning at the beginning of this, obviously.
But what happened was they did put the suicide and emotional whatever helpline
at the end of every episode.
At the end of the episode.
Well, they've done that every week that the killer kills themselves.
Yeah,
which I think is smart.
Yeah, and that's a good thing, and it's also just a compassionate.
Oh no, it's a very good movie.
If this is very upsetting,
and it is upsetting.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So
I'm not gonna lie, I'm still shell shocked from the episode.
Oh well, yeah, and we have another podcast to do in an hour, I'm going
to go do another podcast.
Yeah, okay. So we're gonna, mind you, I'm hoping we've gotten most of our shell shock stuff.
This is true.
Out of our system.
Breen Fraser was like, do you want to push it back? You're going to be pretty emotional after seeing Thursday's episode, and I'm like, oh no, it's finally happening.
Yeah. Well, yes, but. But his line was, do you want to wait until after next week's?
Yeah, after the 2 episodes.
And now that I've seen what we're doing with this episode, and that was just his dying, right? And I'm just going, what are we going to be like after the
how
funeral?
That funeral is going to kick our
I don't think we could have done another podcast.
It's probably the right time to be recording it. All right, so we're going to be back here on Tuesday with the Q&A that we're recording with Breen Fraser today. So look out for that. So that's going to go up on Tuesday. Let's see. We're going to be back here next Friday with the funeral episode, assuming we can emotionally handle it. Honestly, it might get pushed to Saturday. Like
it's just...
It might get pushed to Saturday.
Just tell me how because you watch it before I do, because I go to bed.
Tell you how. Yeah, I'll send you an email telling you how rough it is. So you wake up to a warning. Yeah, that's
so I'll wake up to a warning just in case.
Yeah.
I'll still have to watch
here for that. But until then, if you have any questions, if you have any comments, if there's any profiling related fiction you'd like to recommend we check out, drop us a line at profilingcriminalminds@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. If you were listening on an app, podcatcher, or watching on YouTube, please rate, review, and subscribe. That's how people find out about the show. We'll see you back here next week for more Criminal Minds. But until then, I'll say that's right. Au revoir.
And have a week.